Happy New Year. It is 2026, I think. I don't know. I believe. Probably. Yes. We're doing a lot of stalling here. This movie, for example, has Tom Felton in it. We know him as Draco Malfoy. Internet sleuths and superfans will know that whence last we saw Draco Malfoy, he was thinking about transferring to pig farts. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this entry has been a little bit longer than usual because YouTube has standards and rules that we must abide by, and if I don't abide by them, then my review can be downgraded and harder to find. And I just wanted time before I said the title of the movie, Fuck Them All. Yes. This is a comedy that came out in 2025, and even though that is the title of the movie, I feel like the AI algorithm is out to get me. So I apologize for the stalling, but there's something about, it's like 30 seconds or a minute or something like that. If you curse in the first 30 seconds or a minute, YouTube gets angry at you and makes it harder for people to find your video. I'm like, but that's not the curse word, but that's how they pronounce it. I don't know what to do. Thomas Ian Mackenzie, Ben, forgot his name, and Tom Felton. I wanted to say Rappaport, but I knew that wasn't right. And then I was like, what did Ben Rappaport do, and why is it in my mind? What was he in? Did it Parks and Rec? Anyway, somewhere there's an actor called Ben Rappaport who's been in something, and he threw the actual Ben out of my mind entirely. It's a spoof of Downton Abbey. And thank God, because we have this year between Naked Gun and Fuck Them All, it has just, we have dug up this genre and brought it back to its glorious heyday, which was ruined. I think the 2000s murdered this genre. We had a genre before, and it was lovely, and people did it. And you had the Jeff Zucker's, then the whole like Naked Gun franchise, and the Hot Shots, and then you had what Mel Brooks was doing, and everything. Just everybody kind of understood what it was. You had even the stuff Christopher Guest is doing has a little bit of this element to it. But then the Wayans brothers came in, and honestly, they started out okay. But then somebody was like, what if we made this franchise PG-13? No. But the bigger problem was somebody listened to Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer, who are my picks for the worst directors of all time. I know there are Uwe Boll fans out there who are reeling right now, thinking to themselves, sir, I thought we had all agreed years ago that no one could surpass Uwe Boll. And I would say, I think Rennie Harlan is trying to do that right now with the Strangers trilogy. But, no, I think the most incompetent film directors that we have had, because they have an actual body of, it's hard to judge somebody after one movie and say that, well, that one movie was incompetent, but my God, they can't just keep making, Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer continued to make the same absolute hot garbage, film after film after film, until nobody wanted to watch this type of movie anymore, and it died, and the movies stopped getting theatrical releases, and just they were going straight to video, and oh look, it's a Redbox premiere. And then we just weren't getting this type of movie anymore. just for a while, and then Naked Gun, and yeah, and now Fuck Them All. So, if you're a fan of Downton Abbey, you'll crack up because those jokes will be. You can't be like a protective fan of Downton Abbey because then you'll be like, "Ah, this is so rude. That's not true at all. This is not what the show is. They do not understand." But if you're like I mean, some of it is funny. There's a scene. My favorite scene in the movie is a joke that just goes on for too long, but it's the right kind of too long. Um, there's a scene where Eric, who's our male lead, he plays an orphan called Eric No One. Because this is I'm a no one. Um, he gets a job at Fuck Them All, and he's the woman that is like I don't know in charge or whatever is describing his duties to him, and she keeps going. She's like, that the table is the surface for which you will wipe, the floor is you will mop the floor is the surface on which is flat and is the ground and that we stand on that is surrounded by walls. Walls are like floors that are on sideways. It's just, she just kept describing things, and I was like, I don't know. This is one of the weirdest but funniest jokes I think I've ever heard in my life. Is her just describing what things are, like that you would think somebody would know what a floor is and then what a wall is. And she just keeps like over describing his job duties to him. So, yeah, I laughed quite a bit in this. It's not quite as good as Naked Gun. Naked Gun has a little bit more freedom of randomness. I have to appreciate though Fuck Them All because it does actually stay within its walls. You know what I'm saying? Like this actually it's not trying to hodgepodge a whole bunch of different franchises together, which is what Jason Freeberg and Aaron Seltzer always did. Is that they were always like date movie. And then you're like, why is Amy Winehouse here? Like what the fuck is going on in this movie? So yeah, I mean, they always like they were like, "Ooh, what if we took all of the tropes from all of the movies and made a really shitty movie? Wouldn't that be fun?" No, no, it wouldn't actually be fun. That would not be fun. That would be the opposite of that would be whatever the opposite of fun is. Anyway, so I kept expecting that, and it's funny that they conditioned me after years of making their ass movies to condition to expect that like somebody was gonna show up and they were gonna make like a joke, right? Where they're like introducing. I kept thinking of the really dumb jokes that I would anticipate, like they would introduce these royals, who are coming to Fackham Hall, but from all over, and they'd be like, "Oh, Lady Gaga," and then we'd be like, "Oh, of course, because she's got lady in front of her name. Thank you for the obvious joke." No, no, they kind of just want to spoof Downton Abbey, and really just Downton Abbey, not kind of bridging to Bridgerton or do too much upstairs downstairs. Like they just kind of want to do Downton Abbey, and I think the film is better for it. I think a targeted approach to spoofing something that has enough content in which to spoof uh, is lovely. You know, if you write a James Bond spoof, you don't need to also spoof like Mission Impossible, and you don't need to spoof like the concept of spying. You don't need to start bringing in all of the other. You can just kind of spoof James Bond. There's enough content. He's made enough movies. There are all the books too. So, um, this is delightful. Thomasia Mackenzie actually has more to do here than she did in Testament of Anne Lee. And this is a different side of her because I don't think I've ever seen her do comedy before, but she's lovely. I really like this whole cast. The Ben guy, whose name I forgot. Now I'm thinking of Benjamin Mackenzie, but he's from the OC, and it's not Benjamin Mackenzie. So, Ben, whatever your name is, I thought he was fun too as Eric. Um, if you haven't seen Fuck Them All, it does have audio description, and it's funny. However, I will say, The Naked Gun has a better audio description track in terms of meeting the physical comedy for the comedy. The Naked Gun, though, has more, at least from what I can tell, is more reliant upon visual gags, things that you would need to understand, or the specificity of which wouldn't make sense, like if you didn't have audio description, or if you described it in the wrong way, like the scene where they're all standing in front of the photos of the previous cast, like they're like that cast is being honored or something, and they're up on the wall, and he's saying, something to Neeson, and Paul Walter Hauser's they're saying something to his dad, and then there's like this black guy that's standing in front of the O.J. Simpson thing. If you don't explain that sequence, it's just three men looking at photos on a wall. Like, it can be really reductive, and then the joke is gone, and you're like, I don't understand. And everybody around you is laughing, but you don't understand why they're laughing. Fuck Them All has quite a bit of the content is actually written in the dialogue. Um, uh, like, it's just it's little observations in how we say things. Like, there's a wedding that they're planning here, and they have somebody who's like receiving the guests at the beginning, and he says bride or groom, like, which and almost anyone would interpret to mean, are you with the bride or with the groom, like which side of the room are you sitting on? And the guy says, no, I'm a guest. you know it's little things like that that don't require audio description that fill in so much of the movie that make me think, yeah, I think we're good. But still the audio description has a hard time navigating through the comedy, through the dialogue, and there's not as much of it as I would have liked, especially in direct comparison to The Naked Gun, but it does a pretty good job. It's just in the battle of who did it better, I think The Naked Gun has the better audio description track. So, uh, it has repetitive physical comedy, like Frank always being handed a cup of coffee in Naked Gun, like always. Just people just keep handing him coffee. Um, so yeah, the sight gags here are either minimal or we're missing some. But there's a lot to pick up in the dialogue too. I really enjoyed this. I'm glad. I'm glad that I took the leap on Fuck Them All, because Bleecker Street has this, and I don't know why. Bleecker Street, yeah, they can have good movies, and maybe they did. Maybe they've started swinging for the fences, and they actually have started bidding wars for some independent films, and picking them up before studios, um, to try to rehabilitate the idea that they get what's left, which is kind of what Bleecker Street was for so many years. I feel like they were getting like what's left, which sometimes you would get like a rare gem that a studio just didn't know was a gem, because sometimes studios have no idea what's good and what's not. Let's be honest. Am I right? um, it's hard to hold up some of the things that they're releasing and go, you thought that was you thought that was a good idea? Wait, you greenlit that? So, um, so they have had some solid movies throughout the years, but I always kind of feel like because they're just distribution and not production, that they get whatever's left over after the A24s and the Eons and Searchlights and Focuses and everybody have picked it up. It's weird that Focus isn't releasing this, considering they released the Downton Abbey movies. But yeah, this is delightful. I really, is it the best movie of the year? No. It's a simple sort of, it's an easy plot. It doesn't overthink itself. It kind of just sticks to the Downton Abbey formula. But yeah, this is one of the best comedies of the year, easily, like hands down. It's just like right behind Naked Gun. It's just like a step behind that. So, I'm gonna give Fuck Them All a 7.8 out of 10. Because everybody has a British accent, and that's how you pronounce it. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.